Hello there, and welcome back to War Thunder and Napalm's newest news. A day late. This was a changelog from yesterday. It was a server update, and there are two major topics. First of all, Gaijin fiddled a little bit around with the placement of certain planes in the tech trees of both the Americans and Germany. Not really that important. What is more important, if we have a look at the battle rating changes and the research, purchase and crew training cost, etc., as well as repair cost, award multipliers and ammunition cost changes. And yeah, let's go right into it, because again, first of all, there are so many changes. I cannot talk about every single one of them. If you are interested in a particular plane, ship, tank, etc., then you might want to click on the links in the video description down below to have a look for yourself. But there are some usual candidates that are a good indicator in which direction Gaijin is heading with the economy. First of all, there is good and bad, so let's talk about the battle rating changes. So with aircraft, this is all the changes that there is, right? That's just a handful of planes. There are a few differences where I don't really get why they are there. First of all, the J-32B and the G-91, they are fine planes at their respective battle rating of 9.7, but now they are 10.0. And this can go either way. Either it's not a huge amount of difference, but at this battle rating we see a big compression of performance. We see a scenario where in 9.7 you can get down tier after down tier, and so you're facing weaker opponents, and then when you get to 10.0 you suddenly see a completely different meta where you face incredibly good missiles that you were never really facing before, with significantly better aircraft, and you get up tiered all the time. So those planes can go from very good to very bad by just 0.3 battle rating. If this is not a good indicator of compression, tell me. So then the B-29 has seen no changes for realistic and simulator. Keep that in mind. The Heinkel 177 has gone up by 0.3, and to a certain degree rightfully so. So that is not a lot of changes. Let's talk about ground vehicles, and as we can see, only three tanks, and one of them is a really low tier tank. The changes are not huge, and those are not vehicles where I would say, yeah, they are really dangerous, they are really outrageously awesome. But at least there are three vehicles, because for naval forces, it's a meme. It's a meme. The compression, the performance, so much is wrong in naval forces. I've talked about this hours upon hours in my videos. My opinion has not changed, and the current F220, we will see this ship later on in some other statistics. Remember, it has gone up in battle rating, and it's just one. Then let's come to the economy changes, and let's go to the research parameters. And there are some ups and downs. Again, you can look through them yourself, but there are some particular interesting changes. For example, the T-72B has gone from 390,000 RP, which is effectively the cost of a high tier MBT, such as the Leopard 2F5 for example, to a mere 250,000 RP. That's a minus of 140,000 RP. Now, that is a bit over a third reduction. And it's not a 4 or 6,000 RP, it's 140,000 RP. So for people that have freshly researched this tank, they will now scream in anger. People that just have begun to research this tank will be relieved to know that it's not that much to go through. But the change is incredible, and just tell me how many rank 3 or rank 4 tanks you get for 140,000 RP. That's just the difference. That's not the actual price. Okay. Then we come to repair and rewards. So here are the RB repair costs if you get shot up. And this is then the Silver Line modifiers. Just remember the columns. So there are the usual candidates, and we can see changes that are from 0 to around 10 silver lines, which is practically nothing, right? But we also saw some more extreme examples. For example, here the B-29. If you remember, this plane has seen no battle rating increase. Now, I just want to spend here a few minutes to talk about this because that story is huge. If you're a new player, this is very, very, very important to know. The B-29 costs stock 44,000 silver lines. This price has gone now up to 51,000 silver lines stock. That's a plus of 7,000. That is extremely expensive. It might be one of the most expensive planes in the game when it comes to repair cost. Fully upgraded, this is a whopping 64,000 silver lines. Now, why am I really talking about this? Is it the amount of silver lines? No, because this plane can also earn you an absurd amount of silver lines if you don't get shot down. So first of all, this encourages very selfish gameplay. This encourages space climbing and, not letting the battle end or forcing the enemies to ground strike and whatever, because this plane can get to absurdly high altitudes. The same goes with the Tier 4, which is a very similar plane. The next thing is, this is the second time that we saw a repair cost increase for the B-29. After a certain change where the repair costs were decreased, but also the silver line modifiers, in particular for bombing points, which is the major income for a high altitude strategic long range bomber, has been nerfed. This nerf for the income was not reverted in this patch or the previous economy patch. No. So what we ended up over the course of over a year is that the repair costs first have gone down and now have gone up again. I think they are even more expensive than it was before, but the income is lower, so it's just screwing up the players. Instead of giving the plane a battle rating increase, reducing the spawn altitude, limiting the bomb load like with the BV-238 as it was stated in its dev block, right? Or just fiddling around with the tasks that a bomber can do, or increasing the bombing points, increasing a base's health. There are so many options. Now Gaijin is changing just one number, and it does it in such a way in the long run that the players just simply get fewer silver lines. But here, and this is a bit of an eye-washing, 4.1 to 4.3 is the silver line modifier for the plane if you shoot down an enemy plane, if you bomb a tank or something like this. But there are hidden silver line modifiers for the base destruction, for the base bombing or the bombing point or mini base destruction, and they have been nerfed previously, but this is not shown in those thousands upon thousands of numbers. So Gaijin is not telling you the full picture, even though there is a massive amount of numbers. By the way, and I'm sorry, I just realized, this is me having a very big screen, so for me the numbers are very clearly readable. So this is just one of the indicators. Now, there is another plane that is of great interest, and that is the F-11 F1. Have you played a lot to get this plane? Have you really spent and skipped some tasks with Golden Eagles to get this plane, which is a non-premium stock reward plane when you get it? You cannot just buy it on the marketplace yet. That's just going to happen in, I guess, a few days. But rejoice, because if you think you made some money with it, with a previous stock repair cost of around about 12,000 RP, which is not really that cheap, rejoice, because the repair costs have more than doubled. This is a 60-70% increase to 26.5 thousand, or 26,500 silver lines repair cost for a stock non-premium event, reward, chat. And I could talk about hours, how Gaijin is gathering statistics, how this is fundamentally flawed with, the really good or really encouraged player base getting their hands on this plane before, or the initial repair cost calculations being off by 60-70%. So much I could talk about, but this is just a friendly reminder of how you get screwed. And this was not advertised in the dev blog. This was nothing we content creators had on the radar. This was nothing we were told about when we made our initial videos. And this is just another sort of Gaijin showing apparently the middle finger to the player base. So let's go to Germany, and there are also some very interesting changes. So first of all, where is it? Come on, where are you? There you are. Yeah, the Heinkel 177. Remember that it got a battle rating increase? Yeah, but it didn't get a civil line repair cost reduction for this. Okay, interesting. Now we come to the good part later on. What I wanted to show you is a certain tank that just has the same story. Have you played a lot? Have you played a lot for the Leopard C2A1, where the tasks were increased, 50 tanks, no more reduction modifier for realistic battles, more wins with a higher percentage, etc. Yeah, that is 2.5 times the repair cost price for, again, a non-premium stock tank. Increased its or fully upgraded its 13,000-14,000 civil line repair cost, and you don't have any sort of high civil line modifiers. Yeah, here it was increased, so that counters it a little bit. Let's be honest, 1.6 is better than 1.3 by 0.3 points. But the best modifier is 1.4 times 2.0. That is the value, or the 2.8 effectively. That is the value of an actual premium tank. This is only 1.6. So again, non-premium, as I said in my video multiple times. Go and watch my review. I didn't mention the repair cost because 4,000 or 6,000 isn't really a big deal, but when it comes to 13, 14, 15,000 civil lines, that is a thing to consider, especially if you look at the Leopard A1A1 L44, that is an actual premium and has a modifier of 2.8. Apparently, that stays exactly the same, and you can go and watch the comparison. There are very, very similar tanks. So why one costs literally 3 times as much as a non-premium? Yeah, that is a little bit the pay-to-win card. Another interesting factor is the mouse. The mouse was removed from research, and the players that still have the mouse either don't play it because of the always higher repair cost, or if they play it, they gain more and more experience and they gain more and more upgrades, so the overall capabilities of the mouse increase from patch to patch because it was removed from research. So quote unquote, the bad player resupply is cut off, the stock mouse resupply is cut off. So the statistics imply that the mouse is doing better and better, while in actual battle the environment for the mouse is getting worse and worse. More tanks that are faster with autoloader, stabilizers, APDS, heat FS, which are a full battle rating lower, and you already have to fear them, where your one-trick pony characteristic is the armor, and you're not really good with your gun handling or with your speed, and when the armor fails you, even when angled, then you can see why I actually play the mouse less and less. The same trend is going here for the Tiger 105, which was removed from research. The Coelian hasn't really changed, which is a bit surprising. But anyway, so there are many changes. The Köln, the F220, saw now a meme-worthy change. This is practically, let me just quickly summarize. It now has it has a destroyer spawn. It spawns versus actual destroyers. Something like the Fletcher and all those American destroyers with their overpowered anti-fragmentation armor, which have more guns with a also very high rate of fire. This has only two 102mm guns or 100mm guns. Yes, it has radar, yes, it has very good capabilities, but it has no armor, and it spawns versus destroyers. It will lose a gunfight in the opening stages very early on. It saw a battle rating increase from 4.3 to 4.7, and now we are seeing a battle rating civilian repair cost reduction of not quite 10%. That is that could be better, right? So this is just an indication of how brutal the compression and the performance difference is, because the only real advantage that this ship has compared to some other German ships is the handling of the weapons, the radar, and the proximity fuse anti-aircraft shells, and the 40mm, which no other destroyer at this battle rating has. And this is giving it its absurdly high repair cost in the first place. Here, compare it to the Narvik Zerstörer, which has the same battle rating of 4.7 and significantly bigger guns. You see the difference in repair cost? Even here? Just saying. The Admiral Hipper is another good example. Whereas in the previous patch, you couldn't play naval forces, or a few patches back, where you couldn't play naval forces because an Admiral Graf Spee was sending 6 11-inch bombs your way, and they were literally nuking your ship. The game mechanics were absolutely overpowered with high explosive. Nobody was bothering with AP or SAP. No, they were shooting a high explosive, and it was making all other ships irrelevant. And then it gave you a repair cost stock of 7,000. So let's make 10,000 civilians out of it. That was really cheap. It gave frustration to everybody, and now where it is practically pointless, because yes, it still has good AP and SAP, but the HE was nerfed into the ground where it can't even blab a destroyer anymore. A destroyer will survive a salvo from a Graf Spee. No problems. In fact, the secondaries are better at dealing with destroyers, with actually hitting them. We're not talking about finding the range or something like this. And also the accuracy is off. I'm mentioning this because the difference in civilians do not really reflect the now combat effectiveness. So the old statistics from like half a year ago are still playing into how this ship plays. It has been nerfed into the ground, and also the ammo rack explodes way too often. So that content. So there are so many more changes, but I promised you that we also have a look at something good, and this is now the ammo cost. And I just wanted to show you that the old cost had been quite high at some points, and the new costs are significantly lower. And credit where credit is due, look at the changes. For all the belts for aircraft, there is always a minus. When there is a plus, it is very minor and it doesn't really make a huge difference, right? So Gaijin has really cut down the ammunition cost a lot, and there was not a single big plus that I could see. G91YS, also, that's what almost 2/3 reduction of the belt. Yes, I know it's not making a huge difference, but the same goes also for tanks and ships. So it is a minus across the board. There, the BMP2's belts here across the board, a big minus. So this is at least giving a bit of breathing space. and also here an increase for the APCR Panzergranate 4043 for the long 88. Nobody cares because nobody's using it anyway. So and even then, how many shells do you have to fire to get a somewhat noticeable ammunition cost? That is not really a big change. But you know, when we look at things like this for the Tunguska, from 12,000 to a mere 3,500, that is again what, over 2/3 reduction. That is intense. The same goes here for the APT belt. So those are good changes. They are mostly minus. The minus also is hugely mostly bigger than the plus. So this is a really good change. So especially those low caliber belts have been reduced with costs quite significantly. So this is a good change that I welcome a lot, especially for high tier tanks. That's giving them a bit of relief from the repair cost, and you know, you don't mind to fire around. Also naval forces, and this is really interesting. So for example here, the 40mm clips, 3 civil lines down to 1 civil line. Yes, it's a reduction of 2/3. It's not the world's greatest difference, but again, across the board, it's a big minus. The prices, for example, also for the 20mm were absurdly high because you were constantly shooting at aircraft and other patrol boats with your destroyers. So this was also a source of huge noticeable side costs, and that has been reduced by 4/5. If my calculations are correct. So this is quite a lot, and yeah, across the naval forces it's just a big minus, not just with the player base but also the ammo costs. And yeah, credit where credit is due. The ammunition cost changes, they are welcome, although this is overshadowing the removal of stock APFSDs for high tier tanks for most nations. So I am not forgetting about this. But this change is good. The battle rating change is just a meme, and the economy change is also nothing but trying to think of the player base as being stupid and having no memory. So there are big ups and there are big downs. The downs are mostly bigger with Gaijin because Gaijin has a tradition of making 1 step forward, 3 steps to the side, and 15 steps backwards. That's just how Gaijin is. So again, your reward vehicles, they are screwed. The high tier bombers got screwed, or you know, the bombers with a high bomb load got screwed. There are some minor, completely uninteresting changes. This is what Gaijin is working with, and it's not working out. If you're an experienced player, you clearly see it. Again, the links to those sites are in the video description down below. I hope you enjoyed this video. I hope you found it informative and useful, and that's actually it for me today. So thanks for watching, thanks for listening. I hope you enjoyed this video. Give it a like if you did, subscribe if you want to see more, and we'll see each other on the waves in the skies and on the battlefields of War Thunder.